He heard it 3 times before he told anyone. A rhythm, metallic, slow, coming from 400 meters below, where nothing should be alive. Lieutenant Marcus Sullivan pressed his headphones tighter. His hand froze over the sonar console. The rest of the crew thought they were alone in these Soviet waters, but Sullivan knew better. Something was hunting them. The USS Phantom was 72 hours into a classified reconnaissance mission along the Barents Sea floor. Marcus Sullivan sat hunched in the sonar room, eyes half closed, listening to the ocean breathe. That's how he described it to the new recruits. The ocean breathes. Most dismissed it as poetic nonsense. But Sullivan wasn't being poetic. He was being literal. For 6 years he'd listened to whales, submarines, underwater avalanches, even schools of fish migrating at night. He knew every sound the ocean made. And this was different. It started at 0340 hours. A faint pulse, 3 seconds apart, mechanical, deliberate. Sullivan adjusted the gain. The signal sharpened. His stomach tightened. Clang, clang, clang. He glanced at the depth reading. 380 meters. They were cruising at 180. That meant the source was 200 meters below them. "Chief," Sullivan called softly to Chief Petty Officer Davis, who was reading a paperback in the corner. "You hearing this?" Davis yawned. "Hearing what, Ghost?" Sullivan hated that nickname. They'd started calling him Ghost because he claimed to hear things no one else could, like he was haunted, like he was crazy. "There's a contact, deep, directly beneath us." Davis walked over, leaned down and listened. 5 seconds. 10. He shrugged. "I don't hear anything, Sullivan. You sure you're not picking up our own echo?" "I know our echo. This isn't us." "Then it's a wreck. Settling metal. Happens all the time down here." "Wrecks don't move, Chief." Davis paused. His eyes narrowed. "What do you mean, move?" Sullivan turned the dial, isolating the frequency. The signal was louder now, and it was shifting, left to right, slowly, methodically. "It's pacing us," Sullivan whispered. But before Davis could respond, the sound stopped, complete silence. Davis waited. Then he patted Sullivan on the shoulder. "Get some rest, Ghost. You're hearing ghosts again." Sullivan didn't move. He kept his headphones on. He kept listening, because he knew one thing Davis didn't. Predators go silent right before they strike. The rest of the crew continued their routines. Ensign Parker was reviewing navigation charts. Petty Officer Martinez was checking hydraulic pressure in the torpedo room. Life aboard the Phantom was a careful ballet of maintenance, monitoring, and mind-numbing routine. But Sullivan couldn't shake the feeling. That sound wasn't random. It was intentional, calculated. At 600, Sullivan requested an emergency briefing with Captain Raymond Halleck. Halleck was Old Navy, a man who trusted steel and strategy, not intuition. He sat behind his small desk in the command cabin, arms crossed, face unreadable. "You're telling me," Halleck said slowly, "that something is following us, something we can't identify, something 200 meters below crush depth." "Yes, sir." "And you're basing this on a sound?" 3 sounds, sir. Rhythmic, mechanical, moving at our speed." Halleck leaned back. "Sullivan, do you know how many ghost contacts I've heard about in 30 years? Phantom subs, Soviet superweapons, sea monsters." He smiled, but it wasn't kind. "You know what they all were? Equipment malfunction, thermal layers, paranoia." "Sir, I know what I heard." "You think you know." Halleck stood. "We're in hostile waters. Our mission is surveillance, not chasing underwater fairy tales. If there's a real threat, Sonar will confirm it. Multiple operators, clear data, not just your gut." Sullivan felt his jaw tighten. "Permission to keep monitoring, sir." "Permission granted. But Sullivan," Halleck's voice dropped, "if you spook this crew over nothing, you'll be scrubbing bilges until retirement. Understood?" "Understood, sir." Sullivan left the cabin. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from certainty. He'd heard it. He knew it was real, but now he had to prove it, and that meant waiting for it to come back. But what haunted him most wasn't the sound itself. It was the pattern. 3 clangs, 3 seconds apart, like a signal, like communication, like something was trying to tell them, "I see you." Back in the sonar room, Sullivan pulled out his logbook. He'd been keeping personal records for years. Sounds that didn't match official classifications. Anomalies that command dismissed. Patterns that only he seemed to notice. He flipped through pages of notes. Whale songs with irregular frequencies. Metallic scraping in the Marianas Trench. Echo returns that defied physics. And then he found it. A report from 1959. USS Scorpion. Before it vanished, the sonar operator, a man named Deacon, had filed an incident report about rhythmic contact, unknown origin, deep bearing. The report was stamped dismissed, equipment error. Sullivan's blood ran cold. The Scorpion disappeared 3 months after that report. All hands lost. Official cause, catastrophic mechanical failure. But what if— "You okay, Ghost?" Sullivan looked up. It was Martinez, carrying 2 cups of coffee. The kid was barely 25, fresh out of sonar school, still believed in the Navy's invincibility. "Yeah, just reviewing some old data." Martinez set down a cup. "That thing you heard earlier, Chief says it was nothing." "Chief's heard worse. He's just trying to keep everyone calm." "You really think something's down there?" Sullivan looked at him, really looked at him. Martinez had a wife back home, a baby daughter he'd never met. He deserved honesty. "I think," Sullivan said carefully, "that the ocean is deeper and stranger than any of us want to admit." Martinez nodded slowly. Then he left. Sullivan sipped the coffee. It was cold. Everything on a submarine was always cold. 12 hours passed. Sullivan didn't sleep. He sat at his console, headphones glued to his ears, eyes locked on the green waterfall display. The rest of the crew rotated shifts. They laughed, they ate, they played cards. They had no idea. At 1920 hours, the sound returned. This time it was closer. Clang, clang, clang. Sullivan's heart slammed against his ribs. He didn't call for Davis. He didn't alert the captain. Not yet. He needed more. He adjusted the frequency range, filtering out ambient noise. The signal clarified. It wasn't just metallic. It was rhythmic, purposeful, and now it was moving faster. Sullivan's fingers flew over the controls. He tracked the bearing. 190 degrees. Depth, 350 meters. Speed, matching theirs exactly. Then the sound changed. Clang, 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 clang. Faster, doubled, like a heartbeat accelerating. Sullivan's breath caught. He grabbed the intercom. "Con, sonar, I have an unidentified contact. Bearing 190, depth 350, request immediate." The lights went out. Every screen in the sonar room died. Red emergency lights flickered on. Alarms screamed through the submarine. Sullivan ripped off his headphones as the entire vessel shuddered violently. "All hands, brace for impact," Captain Halleck's voice roared over the intercom. Sullivan gripped the console. The Phantom lurched hard to starboard. Men shouted. Equipment crashed. The sound of metal grinding against metal reverberated through the hull. And then, through everything, Sullivan heard it. A grinding, metallic, scraping. Something enormous was dragging along the outer hull. The submarine leveled out. The lights stuttered back on. Sullivan's console rebooted. His hands trembled as he pulled his headphones back on. He heard crew members shouting in the corridor. Damage reports. Confusion. Panic. But Sullivan wasn't listening to them. He was listening to the ocean, and the ocean was laughing. No, not laughing. Humming. A low-frequency vibration. Subsonic. Felt more than heard. It resonated through the steel, through the water, through Sullivan's bones. It wasn't mechanical anymore. It was organic. Alive. "Sonar, report!" Halleck's voice cracked through the intercom. Sullivan's mouth was dry. "Contact. Lost, sir. I can't track it." "What the hell hit us, Sullivan?" "I don't know, sir." "You don't know? You've been tracking it for 12 hours. "It's not showing up on passive, sir. It's like it's masking itself." There was a long pause. Then Halleck's voice, quieter now. "Get up here. Now." Sullivan climbed the ladder to the control room. Every eye turned to him. Halleck stood at the periscope station, face pale, jaw clenched. "The XO, Commander Reeves was checking damage reports on a clipboard. Navigator Chen was frantically calculating their position. "Damage report," Halleck said to Reeves. "Minor hull abrasions on the starboard side, sir. No breaches, but the reactor took a jolt. We're running on auxiliary power. Time to full power? 20 minutes, maybe 30. Halleck turned to Sullivan. "You said it was following us. So where is it now?" Sullivan glanced at the sonar operator on duty. A kid named Phillips, barely 22. Phillips shook his head. "Nothing on screen, Lieutenant. It's gone." "It's not gone," Sullivan said quietly. "It's waiting." "Waiting for what?" Halleck snapped. Sullivan met his eyes. "For us to move." The words hung in the air. Everyone in the control room understood the implication. Whatever was out there wasn't just following them. It was testing them, learning their capabilities, waiting to see what they'd do next. Halleck stared at him for 3 full seconds. Then he turned to the helmsman. "All stop. Silent running. Cut everything non-essential." The order rippled through the submarine. Engines died. Ventilation ceased. Non-critical systems powered down. The Phantom went dark and quiet, drifting in the black water like a ghost itself. They waited. 1 minute. 2. 5. The only sounds were breathing and the occasional creak of the hull adjusting to pressure. 43 men, holding their breath, listening to nothing. Then from below, the sound returned. Clang, 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 slower now, deliberate, circling. Phillips' face went white. "Contact confirmed. Bearing 210. Depth 400 meters. It's directly beneath us again." Halleck's voice was ice. "Can you identify it?" "No, sir. The signature doesn't match anything in our database. Soviet, American, British, nothing. It's too big." "How big?" Phillips swallowed hard. His finger trembled as he pointed to the display. "Twice our size, sir. Maybe more." The control room fell into a silence deeper than the ocean outside. Twice their size. The Phantom was 110 meters long. That meant whatever was down there was over 200 meters, longer than any submarine ever built, longer than anything that should exist in any Navy's arsenal. "Could it be a whale?" Chen offered weakly. Sullivan shook his head. "No whale makes that sound, and no whale has a metallic signature." "Then what is it?" Reeves asked. Nobody answered. Sullivan stepped forward. "Sir, request permission to go active sonar. 1 ping. Just to get a visual profile." "Absolutely not," Halleck cut him off. "Active sonar will give away our exact position." "Sir, it already knows where we are. It's been tracking us for 14 hours. Halleck's jaw worked. He looked at the depth gauge, at the navigation chart, at the faces of his crew, young men who'd signed up to serve their country, not to face something that shouldn't exist. Then he nodded once. 1 ping. Make it count." Sullivan moved to the active sonar console. His hand hovered over the button. This was it. Whatever was down there would be revealed. For better or worse, they'd finally see what had been hunting them. He took a breath. Then he pressed it. The Phantom sent out a single, powerful pulse of sound. Ping! The sound wave radiated outward, traveling at 1,500 meters per second, illuminating everything within a 5-mile radius. For 3 precious seconds, the ocean revealed all its secrets. And on the display, Sullivan saw it. A shape, massive, cylindrical, but not smooth, covered in geometric patterns, angular protrusions, irregular surfaces that shouldn't exist on any natural formation or man-made vessel. And it was rising. "Contact ascending," Phillips shouted. "Bearing 180, speed increasing, depth now 350, 300, 250. Evasive maneuvers," Halleck barked. "Emergency dive, maximum angle, full speed." But the reactor was still on auxiliary. The Phantom was slow, sluggish, like trying to run through mud, and the thing below was fast, impossibly fast. Sullivan watched the display, his heart hammering. The contact was 200 meters away, then 150, then 100. "It's going to ram us," Martinez whispered from the doorway. Halleck grabbed the intercom. "All hands, brace for..." The submarine stopped, not slowed, not decelerated. stopped like an invisible hand had reached up through the water and grabbed them mid-dive. Inertia threw everyone forward. Phillips slammed into his console. Chen hit the navigation table. Sullivan caught himself on a support beam. The engines were running. The propeller was spinning, but they weren't moving. "What the hell?" Reeves started. And then, from outside the hull, they heard it. A voice. Not human. Not animal. Something between static and song, between machinery and music. Low and resonant, vibrating through every panel, every pipe, every rivet of the submarine. It bypassed their ears and spoke directly to something deeper, something primal in their brainstems that recognized a language older than words. And it spoke one word. Leave. Sullivan's blood turned to ice, because that word wasn't in English. It wasn't in Russian or Chinese or any human language. It was pure meaning, transmitted directly into their minds. Every man on that submarine understood it perfectly. Captain Halleck's face was gray. His hands gripped the periscope handles so hard his knuckles were bone white. He looked at Sullivan, then at Reeves, then at the depth gauge showing them suspended in the water, held by nothing visible. "Blow all ballast tanks," Halleck said quietly. "Emergency surface. Now." "Sir, we're in Soviet territorial." "Waters. I don't care if we surface in Red Square. Blow the tanks." Reeves hit the emergency controls. Compressed air roared into the ballast tanks. The Phantom shot upward like a cork released from deep water, accelerating at a rate that made men's ears pop and blood vessels burst in their eyes. And below them, the massive shape didn't follow. It just watched. They breached the surface at 20:47 hours. The conning tower broke through into Arctic air, cold, clean, real. Waves crashed over the bow. Wind howled across the deck. Halleck climbed topside, binoculars in hand, scanning the black water with desperate intensity. Nothing. The ocean stretched out in every direction, dark and empty under a clouded sky. Sullivan climbed up beside him. His legs were shaking, his hands were numb, but his mind was racing. "What was that?" Halleck's voice was barely audible over the wind. Sullivan didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. He looked down at the water, black, infinite, hiding everything beneath a few feet of surface visibility. Whatever had held them down there was gone, or hiding, or waiting. "Sir," Reeves called up from below, "Soviet patrol boats. 3 contacts, bearing 045, range 12 miles and closing." Halleck lowered his binoculars. He looked at Sullivan one more time. Then he climbed back down. "Dive. Head southwest. Silent running." "Sir, are we going back down?" "Southwest," Halleck repeated firmly. "Away from here. Away from that." They stayed on the surface for 20 minutes, long enough to ventilate the submarine and let the reactor stabilize. Then they slipped back beneath the waves and ran. They didn't stop running until they crossed into international waters 16 hours later. The mission was scrubbed. The incident was classified above top secret. The crew was debriefed separately, isolated from each other, interviewed by men in suits who took detailed notes and said nothing in return. They were told never to speak of it again. Not to family, not to friends, not even to each other. But Sullivan kept the sonar recording. He'd made a copy before they'd confiscated the logs. He kept it in a locked box under his bed, and every night, for months, he listened to it. The clanging, the voice, the word, leave. 3 months later, a Soviet submarine, the K-129, disappeared in the Pacific. No wreckage, no survivors, no explanation. The Soviets searched for months, found nothing. 6 months after that, a French research vessel reported strange sonar contacts near the mid-Atlantic ridge. Massive, geometric, moving in ways that defied known propulsion systems. The report was dismissed as equipment malfunction. 1 year after the incident, Sullivan requested a transfer to shore duty. They denied it. He was too valuable, they said. His skills too rare. So he requested early retirement. They denied that too. So he quit. He resigned his commission, walked away from the Navy, and never looked back. He left the ocean behind, moved to Arizona, as far from saltwater as he could get. Got a job as a sound engineer at a radio station, married a woman named Claire, who asked no questions about his past, had 2 kids, lived a normal life, but every night he still hears it. Clang, clang, clang. Sometimes in his dreams, sometimes in the silence before dawn, sometimes in the white noise between radio stations. And once, exactly 10 years after the incident, he heard something new. He was adjusting frequency bands late at night at the station, headphones on, when he caught it, a transmission, low frequency, impossibly deep. It lasted 3 seconds. Just 3 seconds. But in those 3 seconds, he heard a voice. The same voice. And this time, it said the second part. The part it had been about to say before they surfaced. The word that came after, leave, or become part of the ocean forever. Sullivan erased the recording. Deleted it from the system, told no one, but he knew. And somewhere, in the lightless depths of the Barents Sea, something else knew too. It was still there, still waiting, still listening, and one day another submarine would hear the clanging, and the choice would be offered again.